Wow, what a week it's been. Man, we just 15 days into the month of May. Well, I know that's halfway through the month. I know. But boy, oh boy, is things heating up. We're not even at the summer. The pollen is still out. But the temperature hasn't gotten hot. But I tell you one thing. The news is we got Diddy taking, the Diddy trial is happening. Cassie's on the stand. All love go out to her. We got Tory Lanez finding his way back in the news and just giving opportunity for guys to show how much they hate black women, unfortunately. But then we also got Pete Rose is in the Hall of Fame. Bill Belichick may be on his way out of North Carolina before even taking the field. And Michael Jordan is coming back. This coming up on Breaking Through Glass Ceilings with Uncomfortable Conversations.
I'm excited to talk more about my background.
Also worked in so many places of media, which you will find out more. Two friends who like wrestling that talk about wrestling. To now, let's start a podcast. And
grassroots style, the way me and Brian have done it. Every opportunity is an opportunity.
Kind of makes me want to step my game up a little bit more just because the space is so oversaturated. Anyone can start a podcast.
I live in New York City, so there's, opportunity everywhere in New York. Like, everyone's doing something. You go to a bar for happy hour, the bartender has a business.
And you apply that same strategy to network. You being very intentional. Find your why. What's the reason? Then do it.
Podcasting allowed me to break out of my comfort zone, to break out of my shell.
This is 6HM Productions.
Before we get started with today's show, I just want to remind you that you can save 10% on your order with Symphony of Balloons, a luxury balloon company that also offers a 360 camera. Just simply mention you heard about them on Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings with Uncomfortable Conversations, brought to you by 6HM Production. I'm your host, Brian H. Waters. Folks, where do I start? I've said, a lot of the Diddy stuff, me and Queen PR, we're going to touch on that when we get back on camera together very, very soon. But I'd be remiss just not to, quick mention it, man. I've been following this case, and boy, oh boy, is it disturbing. And, as the case is still going on, I'm, day 2 just been completed. And, like I said, all love for Cassie because she's 8 months pregnant and having to relive this trauma. And I just hope she's not on the internet because everybody got something to say. And this is around the time when you get tired of seeing the keyboard warriors come out. When, I look at her and I look at Meg Thee Stallion, two people who were victims of black men abusing them. But the first thing people want to do is victim shame, right? You have a lot of black men who do it and some black women. Why didn't she just leave? Why did she deal with that? It was fine when she was benefiting. And I reiterate, it's never okay for a man to put his hands on a woman. It's never okay for anybody to put their hands on anybody, but it's never okay for a man to put their hands on a woman. And you saw the evidence. Now, with Meg Thee Stallion, I believe there was like some audio. You watch the documentary, there's some things. And it's sad to see everything that she went through, right? But you don't see like Tory pulled the trigger. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, you have to see the act in order for you to believe it. I mentioned this about the NFL with Justin Tucker last week, where we didn't see him physically, with our eyes. We didn't see him disrespect the massage therapist. But then you look at with Ray Rice, we saw the physical abuse. And that's the thing with Diddy. We saw him grabbing Cassie by the hair. So I think it's unfortunate that there are just people out there who still do this, still got something to say. So I just be honest with you, I don't have no faith in this world. I don't have no faith in the humans, in mankind, the human race, because they always want to look to blame the women. They always want to look to blame the victims. And then if it's the other way around, if there's a man who's dealing with physical abuse from his woman, the first thing they're going to say is man up. And people don't understand manipulating the mind. And when you manipulate somebody's mind, then you could do whatever you want with them. And that's the unfortunate world that we live in. So I'll talk more about that, when Queen PR and I, because I want to get a woman's perspective, but I wanted to touch on that briefly at the top of the show. Let's get to some crazy baseball news. MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred has reinstated Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson. Now, let me give you all an overview real quick. Pete Rose was had a lifetime ban from baseball because of the fact that he was caught gambling on games. Yes, he was gambling on games. Now, he has gone on and on and on and said he did not gamble on any games that he participated in. Nonetheless, he received a lifetime ban. Well, guess who encourages gambling a lot? All sports. Because they got to be getting a cut, right? I'll admit, I made up $100 a couple years ago for a dollar bet on the Orioles. I needed a couple guys to hit home runs. But, the players, they aren't allowed to bet. And I get that. Now, Shoeless Joe Jackson, he was a part of the 1919 World Series scandal between the Chicago White Sox, who would lose to, ironically, the Cincinnati Reds. Cincinnati Reds was the team Pete Rose played for. But obviously he didn't play in 1919. But it was Shoeless Joe Jackson was one of the 8 players who was involved, and they got paid to throw the World Series. Upon him doing that, he received, so many thousands of dollars. But once it was found out, he was banned. It was a lifetime ban. And what's sad, that's when they're known as the Black Sox, right? But what's sad is that they decided to do this posthumously. It said because once you have the lifetime ban, you can't no longer be banned from the sport after you're dead. I get that. But I've always said this. Pro wrestling tells y'all it's predetermined. And it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of behind the scenes. You see a lot of the same similarities in all sports. This is pro wrestling, right? We've seen so many wrestlers kind of get put to the sideline and then get inducted into the Hall of Fame after they died. Vader, he's one of them. And sometimes they say, it's because, you don't know what they're going to say on their speech, whatever. And it's unfortunate because Pete Rose will probably go into the Hall of Fame in next couple of years. You know what I mean? But he won't get on Earth. He won't get that fan reaction. He won't be here to receive that. So that's unfortunate. Now it's time to just go ahead and, lift the steroid era. At the end of the day, I don't take steroids, but here's what I can say. Baseball's the hardest sport. Why? Because it's hard to hit a ball coming at you 90 miles an hour. And hand-eye coordination is another thing. As somebody who's been playing a lot of baseball with my kids and girlfriend lately, I remember how hard it is to hit a baseball. And, we're throwing it not super fast, obviously. But I'm standing there and I'm looking at that ball, kind of like, man, imagine it's going 100 miles an hour. So when you think about people like Barry Bonds, he deserves to be in there. After all, Barry Bonds was never convicted. Now, y'all, everybody can say, Barry Bonds had over, he weighed one thing and his head got bigger and all that's the numbers, whatever. At the end of the day, He never served a day of suspension for steroids. Mark McGwire, because we lived through that. Baseball lived through that. Baseball made money through advertising dollars. The 98 home run chase was epic. If you don't believe me, think about this. We watch Mark McGwire hit number 62 on a weekday. You would never see that now. But on Fox, you would never see that now. So that's why I say go ahead, let them all in the Hall of Fame. You cannot tell the history of the sport without them. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to support this podcast by wearing a t-shirt, whether it's the one that says breaking through glass ceilings or the one that says no ceilings above success, simply go to foryourwear.com. Also, you can support some of your other favorite podcasts and content creators, including Those Wrestling Girls, Seahawk, and the Wrestling Club. And you can support some of your favorite independent wrestlers, including Jay Bougie, Trisha Dora, Chaz the Dawn. Shoot, all the Pure Ignorance is on there. So go on foryourwear.com, go under personalities, you'll find Brian H. Waters, and buy a t-shirt. And remember, I'll give you a shout out on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, are you in the gym every week? Are you looking to kind of keep yourself cool while you work up a nasty sweat? Well, I got the best thing for you. Cooling bands, bandanas, cooling towels, and so much more. Go to Vertical Athletics, get your favorite team in MLS or MLB, or guess what? Now they have a custom option so you can upload your own logo and you can save 10% at checkout when you enter the code Brian H. Waters. Go to verticalathletics.com, use the code Brian H. Waters to save 10% on some of your best cooling gear. And I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. So a couple more stories before we get out of here. Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is back, but this time he is a special contributor for NBA on NBC. Now, NBA on NBC returns something we've all been waiting for. We all know that iconic music. Shout out to Joe Tess. But, you know, I'm really excited about Jordan being back. However, I will be honest. My first thought was, here we go again with another former athlete on television taking up another job. That is the part that many people don't want to talk about. When I sit back and I see the efforts of my friends who have studied the sport and learned it, only for these networks to sit at home or sit in the office and call somebody who's sitting at home on their millions to just bring them in. And I blame you, the consumer. At the end of the day, I always blame you, the consumer, because y'all asked for this. Now, people complain about the way sports is. People say, I see this thing, it's like, oh, I remember when ESPN used to cover real sports, or when ESPN used to really talk about sports. Now it's just a bunch of people bickering. It's at that point where every time an athlete retires, it's like, oh, okay, guess what? Guess they're going to TV now. It's cool in spurts, but when you have more athletes on television than trained journalists, that's the part that gets annoying. And I've said that before. So I may not have been as excited about Michael Jordan as the rest of the world. Now, there's the part of me that's the basketball fan that said, whoa, it's MJ though. Michael Jordan back on Showtime. And I should say, I'm about to talk about the video game, but Michael Jordan back on NBA on NBC. When the music hit, you know, he'll be back. Because every time when you hear that music and you think about Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. Me personally, I think about Kobe and Shaq. I do think about Jordan and the Bulls as well, but I'm not crazy. Jordan had 6 of them with that music. Kobe and Shaq had 3. And it is good. It's like, okay, what's the next challenge for Michael Jordan? Now, I am excited to see what type of generational hating, as I saw a lot of people say, that he'll be doing. What will he be saying about the players? Here's the one thing. Don't be surprised if LeBron James retires. Now, I don't think LeBron's retiring. Calm down. I don't think LeBron's retiring, but I do think that it will be interesting to hear what Jordan has to say about King James, especially because all the comparisons are made. And how many games will we get? We got to get Jordan in for the finals, well, they're not going to have the finals, but for whatever the opener is, we got to have him for some, but who knows? And then I want to close out the show talking about our good friend, Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick has decided, Bill Belichick, who is dating someone who is nearly 50 years his junior. Word on the street is people think he may not make it to the start of the season. Now, if y'all saw that interview, saw how uncomfortable it was, she was up there she was his PR, telling him, no, you don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer this. And I was like, wow, so she's in control of things? She's running the interview? And most of the time that stuff is like cut, so I wasn't sure. And maybe it was live, but I don't think it was. I've actually done her job or what she was doing. I've done that with doctors where I've sat there, they sit through interviews, and I'm making sure nobody is saying anything crazy. So that was interesting to me. But I don't know. I don't know if it's worth the trouble. And personally, I think Bill should just go sit back, sit on his millions, and enjoy his life with his new lady. Again, new coaches. It's very interesting that he didn't get a job in the NFL. And maybe he will, but now in this case, maybe he won't. Maybe nobody's going to want to deal with the headache. Now, they were supposed to be talking about the book when he was doing that interview. And there was some rumors that came out said she wasn't invited on the University of North Carolina campus, which the University of North Carolina denied. They said she is welcome. But this could mean trouble, especially when he's dating somebody who's a little bit older than some of the players he'll be coaching. So here's my guess. How long will it take before we hear a leak of somebody in the group chat getting leaked about one of the players talking about Bill Belichick's girlfriend? Because that happened with Jared Goff and a couple of the Rams players who their coach, Sean McVay, who at the time was like 35, 36. He's the youngest coach at that time. He was the youngest coach in the NFL. Probably like had players that was older than him that he was coaching. And they was like, man, talking about his girlfriend, his wife, and which is sickening. But that's how people act. Hey, you talking about football. And these some young idiots. So how long will it take before we hear that scandal? Only time will tell. But will Bill Belichick be the coach of the University of North Carolina Tar Heels come August 2025? We'll have to wait and see. But ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for this week's episode of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. Make sure you check me out. Follow the page. Obviously, you hit subscribe. Let me know what you think. Be on the lookout. New episode, me and Queen PR, coming very, very soon. Until the next time, folks, remember, do not let anyone place a ceiling above his success. So long, everybody. Are you a podcaster who is looking to share clips from your show in the simplest way possible? Well, I have the best solution, and that's Opus Clip. Opus Clip allows you to take the link to your show, upload it, and then they will clip off some of the best moments. And it allows you to edit it, change the captions, change the colors, And they also give you a viral score so you know which clip can potentially generate more buzz for your show. So if you're looking to do that, click the link in the bio, sign up for Opus Clip, and go viral with some of the best content from your show.